Hello and welcome back to another video. You may recall a couple years ago, I know it feels like yesterday to me, but I made a video about my favorite camera, this guy, the Fujifilm X100T, in a time when the X100V and the X100VI were extremely popular. And I'd owned this camera for about 7 years then, almost 9 years now. That's crazy, but it stood strong. It's a great camera. Well, now, today, I'm going to talk about this guy, which is the X100VI, the upgrade, and why I made these choices and whether or not it actually is that much better than this guy. Spoiler alert, yes and no. Well, let's jump into it. We'll talk about it, and let's go take some pictures. Back-to-back reveals on cameras. I mean, what is this guy doing, right? I mean, he needs to get a new format or something, right? Anyway, so the X100VI, in some ways, the internet's favorite camera, and it's got a lot going for it. It looks great. You know, the X100 series has always looked great. It takes good photos. It's compact. I put these hoods on, but generally it's very compact. I mean, there's also the filter ring on here, which you need to make it fully weather sealed. But even with, without that, it's even smaller. So it's very light, very easy to travel with. Good lens, and now way too many megapixels. So before we jump into the new camera, let's talk a little bit about the old camera and rehash some of the 3 things that I mentioned in my last video about things that I would improve on this camera. And they're quite smaller nitpicks in my opinion. The first one I think is just because of technology, age and stuff. So the battery life on this is not great. The battery was smaller on this camera, and because of how long I've had it, it has slowly deteriorated over time. In the cold, it's quite a bit worse. So I find myself, if I'm using this camera all day, I'll probably need to have an extra battery or 2 just in my bag, just in case. But I do find, having used the OVF more, that it helps the battery life a lot. The next thing is that it's not technically weather sealed. Technically, I think even the newer ones aren't, but they're better weather sealed, and with the filter, I think they say that they're weather sealed. They don't make any sort of claims like that for this one, but I've also used it in light rain and had no issues. So, there's that. And the last thing, and this one is probably the most image quality relevant one, and that's that there's only 16 megapixels here, which in 90% of cases is fine for me. But one of the use cases for this camera, for me and possibly for you and many others, is that it's compact enough, and it also has a fixed lens, which makes it usable inside concert venues and like sporting events, because sometimes these places will have camera restrictions. They won't let you take a camera that's over a certain size or a camera that has a removable lens. And when you take all the accessories off, this camera is actually quite small. I mean, if I take off even the filter ring here, it gets even smaller. I'm having a hard time, so I'm not going to do that. But the hood I keep on, it's just more grip for me. But this is a very compact camera, and so you can take it into a sporting event or something. And I've found in the past, having shot the odd soccer match from the stands with this, it works well enough. I just wish that because you're a little bit further away, in scenarios like that, it would be nice to have a little bit more resolution to be able to crop in. And thankfully, a lot of those are solved by the new one. So let's jump in and talk a little bit about that one. So let's talk about upgrades. There is a version 2 of the lens on here. I think after the F, they started doing the version 2s. So it's still the 23 f2, which is a 35mm equivalent. Still got all the nice aperture clickiness. The sensor in this is a 40 megapixel sensor, which honestly I was a little bit wary of, and it, in my opinion, is almost too much, but beggars can't be choosers, so I will take it. There is IBIS, which is nice to have on the higher resolution sensor, because while this is a light camera and you wouldn't expect too much shake, it is nice to have that IBIS for higher resolution. The screen tilts out, which is cool, and something I forget a lot, even though I've been using this camera since November now. So I've had a few months on it. They added the ISO dial up here, like on the X Pro 2s, compared to the X100T. Again, not sure when they started. I think F onward. There's a new dial up here. There are some drawbacks though, but let's go shoot this a little bit, and then we can talk about drawbacks after. We're gonna do a little side-by-side test. Here's my bookshelf, and you can see the X100T's 16 megapixel shot and the 40 megapixel from the X100VI. Honestly, it doesn't look like it's a huge difference, but it really does make a difference when you got shots that you have to crop in this far into. Like when you have a shot that you're framed up properly, you're not gonna have an issue, but it's really useful for scenarios like I had with that soccer game. So it's very useful when you can only be a certain distance from something, but you want to get a longer shot. So I hope you like those pictures. We're gonna go through some thoughts about this camera now in order of why I got it, what's good, what's bad, whatever. So why I got it, I went through my issues with the X100T in the video that I made about it being my favorite camera, and the issues were fairly minimal. I mean, for the most part, the camera worked great, and I would continue to use it if I didn't find a really good deal on this. But it's quite old. I've had mine since about 2016. So 2016, and in that time, the battery life is really like the thing that's showing the most in its age. Everything else, I honestly have very few gripes with. But yeah, having the bigger batteries in this is better. Having USB-C charging is a great thing. But they also fixed the other issues that they had with those older X100s. The new lens, the version 2 of this lens, fixes that close focus softness by a lot. I'm not 100% certain if it's really as sharp as it is from wide shots, but in the past, when you focused really close at f2, it was very glowy, and now it's only just a little bit glowy. I mean, I find that it's miles and away better already, and I have some examples, so you can see that. But there's also, you know, some things I spoke about that I think I expected to not, you know, be amazing about this camera, and I think for the most part I was fairly right. Not having the buttons on the back here, like having it switch with this joystick, not a fan of that at all. I actually find that this joystick is too easy to press, and like your focus point will drift off to one place. So I actually have it turned off, so it doesn't do anything. I would have preferred having the directional buttons here, but you know, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. I find that I can, you know, move my focus point with the touch screen if I need to, but for the most part I leave it at center and it works great. But there are some really, really nice things too, like the tilt screen is super nice. I actually, for the whole first 2 weeks that I owned it, I forgot that it was there. And then when I did discover it, I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is so much better, because I have to admit, I think that the autofocus on this is a little bit slower. I haven't been able to prove that in testing, so it might all be in my head, but it feels like if I was shooting from the hip with the X100T, I had a much higher hit rate. With this, I've just figured out how to slow down a little bit, but in the first little bit when I owned this camera, I felt like this wasn't nearly as fast. And maybe it's because it's a much more higher resolution sensor, could be the lens. It definitely feels like it definitely takes a little bit longer, maybe if it's like switching between near and far, I don't know. But since then I've come to, you know, come to terms with how it works, and I'm not missing nearly as much. I'm not really even missing that much at all, I would say. So it works great. The autofocus is not a problem. I just think it may be a tiny bit slower, but it is a much bigger like resolution sensor, which again, I think that 40 is maybe too many megapixels. Like, I would have been more than happy with 30. I think 30 is like a good middle ground, but I'm not gonna complain like it's the end of the world. Like, it's a choice that they made, I understand, because they probably just have a set number of sensors per generation. They just put that in here, that makes perfect sense. The video output I'm quite happy with. I do find it to be a little bit sharpened looking. I've turned it all down, but even then I just find that obviously I think that the video is not the same when compared to the video that I get out of the ZF, but you know, it's not an apples to apples comparison, so it's not really fair, but it's more than nice. It's perfectly fine. I really do like it. I like the IBIS. I think the IBIS is very helpful, especially coupled with that larger resolution sensor. Like, you know, 40 megapixels, I think without the IBIS would have been harder, even though it's a very light and easy to handhold camera. I found that when I was doing the test shots for resolution between this and the X100T, I could handhold this way lower because of the IBIS. So that's great. Really helps it in indoor situations. The flash is a little bit different. Like, it's a little bit thinner and like not as tall as the X100T, which, like, not a big deal. Again, I don't think it really affects it too much, but it's just like these little things that you notice about these cameras. But overall, yeah, it feels great in the hand. It's a little bit heavier, but it does pack a lot more, so I understand. Yeah, I mean, you don't need me to tell you, because the internet already knows, everybody knows, this is like one of the most trending cameras. It's a great camera, and I do really like it, and I have been using it pretty well constantly since I've had it, since about like the end of October. So it's great, and I, you know, do really love it, and I can't see like many things to really complain about that aren't like a little bit nitpicky. So overall, fantastic camera, can't go wrong. Some days, like, I feel like, you know, the X100T with all of its things that it had with just USB-C charging and that battery would have been enough. But then other days, you know, like having the IBIS and the flip out screen, like, sorry, not flip out, the tilting screen, they're great. Honestly, they're great additions. I like the little eye cup being a little bit different now because it's round. It used to be square. I think this is better. But yeah, overall, this is a great camera. I really enjoy using it, and you're going to be seeing a lot of it. So yeah, that's it for me. Hope you liked that, and I'll see you in the next one.